Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Nurse Charms Live. I am your host, Nurse Charms, and we are live. We have a lot going on that we're going to talk about tonight. You see, I have a guest on the screen. I'm going to be introducing her in just a moment. Just want to go over a couple of things. Tonight, we're going to be talking all about home buying. So if you have questions, bring all of your questions. We love questions. This is a Q&A format, so you're welcome to ask as many questions as you like. And I always ask everybody, share this video. Please share this video. We want to spread the word. My guest is going to be giving some very informative facts on, the home buying industry during this COVID-19 pandemic. So you are going to want to watch this video, share it to all of your friends. And also, I always make the disclaimer that let everybody know that I'm not being endorsed. Neither one of us are being endorsed for that matter. So nobody's paying us what to say. Our thoughts are our own. And as you know, I'm a registered nurse. So if you guys do have any health questions for me, I'll be more than happy to ask those questions. But also make sure you follow up with your primary care physician. Okay. Whatever I say is just for educational purposes only. So with that being said, Lisa, good evening. How are you doing?
Hello, good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
Yes, of course. I'm excited as well. So let's just get started and tell everyone who you are, what you do, just introduce yourself a little bit. I always have my guests introduce themselves so I don't forget anything because I am bad with my memory sometimes. So go ahead, go for it.
All right, that's great. My name is Lisa Whatley. I live in Houston, Texas. I am a residential and commercial realtor here in the area, pretty much all over Houston. So I'm willing to go wherever everybody is and, willing to buy or sell their home. I'm always excited to help pretty much everybody in my sphere. And essentially,
Nice.
I went to U of H. I got my degree in finance. So I love
Oh, wow.
analyzing data and contracts. So it's kind of, real estate has been a really good fit for me.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about your company. Like, do you own your own real estate, or do you do real estate? Are you a broker? Also, let us know a little bit about that.
So I'm a realtor right now. I've been in the business for about 2.5 years now. My brokerage is called eXp Realty. It's actually a spinoff of Keller Williams. So that's where I started, was in Keller Williams. Training was great. For new agents, but as I've grown, eXp has actually become great for me. It's all virtual, so we're all working in virtual environments right now. So I went at the right time. I work from home. I don't have to worry about going to an office. So anything that I need to do, I do at home, so which is great. And I've actually branded myself the High Performance Realtor, and my group name is called High Performance Homes Group. That's because we love sports cars, high-speed racing, stuff like that. So it's a big hobby of ours.
Nice. Well, hey, that only makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So, a lot of us, entrepreneurs have been affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. So just tell everyone, how you were impacted.
My business is down. My business is down. Being a realtor, you kind of hit that 2-year mark and then it starts taking off. So you got to kind of put in your dues and you do your phone calls, you get a lot of rejection. And then once the word gets out and you start helping more people, the referrals start coming in. So at the beginning of the year, it was great. I had all this business lined up, COVID hit, and then everybody got scared. So they're pulling listings, not wanting to look at property. So as of now, my business is down.
Okay. Are you down because of the governor's order, or are you just down because clients aren't really seeking out a realtor?
Yeah. In the Houston area, business is down, sales about 20%. That's almost unheard of. Year over year, 20% business is down. So, but they're allowing people to show homes with restrictions, the proper PPE. Online, people are searching online now. So essentially you have to do your due diligence at first online. They're doing 3D tours for all of the listings so that you can figure out, hey, do I want to really go there and look at it? Because you have to, do the gloves and the masks and, all that kind of stuff. So there's things that you have to worry about, where before it was just kind of a free for all. It's like, oh, this is fun. Let's go look at houses. But here it's like you need to
Right.
be serious. You need to have your lending in place. And then you go and you look at the houses, very few houses.
Okay. So yeah, so speaking of the PPE, so like what is the industry required? Are you doing the gloves? Are you doing, the mask, shoe covers, face shield? I mean, are you doing like the full 9 yards, or are you just kind of keeping a social distance? How is that working when you
It,
actually go show a home?
it is recommended that you do all of
Okay.
that. A lot of the times the
Okay.
listing agent will put it on the listing. So typically you have to have
Oh,
a conversation with the homeowner. What do you feel comfortable with? And then they line out what is
okay.
required and they make sure that you know. So a lot of the times I'm advising clients to turn on all the lights, open all the doors, just ask that people
Okay.
don't touch anything in the home, wear a mask
Yeah.
if need be.
Can you touch things? You can't touch anything. Okay.
Yeah, if you open up all the
Um,
doors and turn on the lights, there's no reason to really touch anything, right? And when you leave, you just leave it all on. So when you come back to the house, then you go through and turn everything off.
okay. Is there any type of I don't know, legal thing where either the buyers or the sellers have to disclose that they've had, COVID-19 or been exposed to it, or, that's personal. Nobody has to mention that.
That hasn't been mentioned. I would think it's kind of like a privacy law or privacy type thing. I haven't seen any documents yet for that. I would hope not. So, I mean, you have to use common
Oh,
sense. If you have COVID, I wouldn't recommend buying or selling a house. Wait until you're healthy and
right,
then kind of get back into it again.
right. So, explain the virtual showings, because isn't that something new, or were realtors already doing virtual showings? Like, how is the setup for that? Are you using Zoom, Facebook? Like, tell us a little bit about how you do your virtual showings.
So one version, it's called Matterport. And essentially it's software where your photographer will come
Okay.
in, or even you can do it yourself, and you take a video tour, and then it's converted and it's downloaded into the software, and it literally looks like a 3D tour of your home. And you can click anywhere, so you can look at the ceiling, at the floor, all over the place, nooks and crannies. You can see every single detail of the house. Back in the day, it wasn't used a few months ago unless you were in a high-end home, because it's very expensive. It's $300 or $400 for a listing. When typically you'll spend $200 or $300 just for pictures. So, now the incremental costs have gone up on listings. So it's something to think about.
Oh, okay. We have some viewers, of course, that are watching, and then we have a few people commenting over here. Jacob says hello. Jacob, Jeff. Oh, looks like he's tagging a friend, maybe. So is it safe, like, to buy a home, in terms of like a lot of people are just nervous, just about catching germs or whatever. So, like, do realtors have any type of liability protection, or how does that work? Like, what, for instance, somebody gets COVID and then they want to list, going to this home, or list dealing with this realtor, as part of that contact tracing. Are you protected, or what are you doing in terms of that?
I believe there might be documentation where it says essentially you're aware of what's going on, you sign off
Oh,
on it,
like a
and that's the risk that you take. So, but the
oh, like
CDC
a wait.
has said you have less of a chance of getting COVID from touching services. So it's not as bad as they originally thought. So there is a bit of relief. The CDC did send out an article on that. So it kind of helps a little bit with the situation.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's good to know that it's like at their own risk, because I worry about that too, because my business, I have a massage business, and I've been closed since like March 15th. And when I open back up, I don't I don't want to be getting listed in somebody's contact tracing. I always have that fear. But of course, when I reopen, I'll have certain environmental modifications in place to make sure that I'm keeping a healthy establishment. But Oh, so just financially speaking, is it a good time to buy a home right now? Because a lot of people are recently unemployed, or a lot of people are furloughed, and maybe they were somewhere in that home buying process, but then, now COVID happened. So, is that a good idea, or like you automatically going to get turned down if you don't have a job? How does that work?
That's funny. Well, it is a good time, but with certain stipulations. Is your job stable right now? That's one of the big things. Are you are you essential worker? If you are currently in your job right now when everyone else, a large part of the country has been, put on the sidelines, then, it would be a good idea to consider it because the interest rates are so low. 3% for a 30-year mortgage, 2.5% for a 15-year mortgage on a $200,000 house. You're paying like $1,300 a month, including, all the escrow, all the taxes, all the insurance on a $200,000 home. So it's almost impossible to find an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment for that cost. So if you have the ability, you just need to make sure your credit is good, and you're going to probably need a higher down payment, but I recommend it.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you said if the home is like 200,000, but what type of credit score would you need to have in order to only pay 1,300? Because that seems pretty good. You can pay 1,300 mortgage on a $200,000 home. Really?
Yeah, exactly, right. I would do it. I would have multiple ones if I was in the right situation right now. But we already have one, so it's great. We have our space, so we don't have to worry too much. But the credit, your credit needs to be a little higher now. So that's one of the things. You used to be able to only have a credit rating of about 580. Now I've seen as much as 700 Chase and 20% down.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but you should shop around. So always remember that. You can shop around to multiple lenders within about a 45-day window without hurting your credit. A lot of people are like, I don't want to do that. It's going to hurt my credit. It doesn't. You're able to do it, shop around so that you can compare all the fees and the various lenders, and you can figure out who you want to go with.
Oh, okay. So what kind of homes are you showing? Like, are you showing like $1 million homes? Are you showing, more smaller homes? Kind of give us an idea of what people are, interested in buying during this time. Because, you automatically think that people don't have the money, but that's not true. It's people that actually have the money and are still buying homes. So tell us a little bit about some of the, styles and sizes of homes that you're showing now.
Yeah, for sure. And to go back to the last question, I just realized it was 5% down. So on a $200,000 home, that's $4,000. So
Oh, wow.
you put your mind to it,
Okay.
you can save enough money for that. But anyways, the median price in Houston is about $250,000. So that's
Okay.
the sweet spot. That's what I call the sweet spots. Between $250,000 and $500,000 is where most people are buying their homes. So on average, that is what you will see in the area. So typically, my customers are in that range. They like lots of space, big garages, for the cars.
Nice. I'm just coming over here to the comment thread to see what people are saying. Marco says, wow, he's just listening. And Glenn says, I bought my parents a $120,000 home and the payment is only $600 a month. She's spot on. Wow. He's just co-signing with you.
I know.
Let's see. Virtual showing, Donald says, virtual showing always been available for some homes I seen back 10 years ago, but how are the prices with all these inventory available? Can you answer that?
I don't answer.
Well, you just kind of said, huh?
How are the prices with all these inventory? I don't understand the question.
Oh, okay. Donald, rephrase that a little bit if you're still on the feed here. So that question is just a little bit clear for us. He says $4,000 on a $200,000 4,000 plus home.
For a down payment? Is that what he's asking?
Are you asking if that's for a down payment? Donald, come back on here. And Joan, she says, good evening, ladies. Hey, Joan, thank you. You're always supportive. We appreciate you joining. Let's see. Oh, he says yes. He's talking about $4,000 down on a 200 plus home. Is that sound about right?
Yeah, it's in that range. Just remember, your credit has something to do with it, and the lender that you go with. So some will require minimal FHA is about 3.5%. Conventional could be 5% or more. So it depends upon your income and your credit.
So how are buyers and sellers able to close deals, with all this social distancing and stuff? Are you just doing things virtually, or how are you doing that?
A lot of it has been virtual from the top to the bottom. Luckily, a lot of it, we already do a lot of the stuff online. My cell phone, I do a lot of my business on my cell phone. A lot of my documents I can do on my cell phone. So even closings, we do closings at a title office here in Houston. I know everyone is different. So even some, I've heard of them saying, they're sitting out in their car and they're waiting for documents, and so they're not interacting too much with people. So the industry has adjusted. So it's made people feel a lot more comfortable with buying and selling homes.
Oh, okay. What are some benefits with choosing a realtor versus just going online to like something like, I think it's called Zillow? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are some benefits of like pros and cons?
Okay, so we have what's called an MLS. It's a multiple listing service. Mine is called har.com. Whenever you upload your listing, it disseminates into Zillow. So Zillow and Realtor.com are secondary versions of the MLS. I always recommend my clients use my website or HAR whenever they search, not Zillow. So it's essentially the same information that I've uploaded into my system. It's virtual. It's literally the same.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. Jessica, she says, Lisa, would you say it's a buyer's or seller's market right now? Oh, I hear that all the time. I always wonder what the difference is. So can you answer that question for her? And then she says, is there still a shortage in inventory?
Okay, so this is a regional question. So I can answer this from my area. We are in a buyer's market. So the way you kind of break it down is we have 3.6 months of inventory currently in the Houston area. What that means is it'll take 3.6 months to deplete all of the inventory without adding a single home back on the market. So when you have that much inventory, there isn't a whole lot of competition. So it's essentially a buyer's market right now for Houston. But I know in a lot of areas, it's a seller's market where it's multiple offers above asking, no contingencies. We don't really experience that too much here in the Houston area. So it's very affordable, and you don't have that added stress of having to compete and then raise your offer on a home.
Who determines that? Like, because I always hear that term. Is it like some organization, or is it just like the financial people? Who determines that we're in a buyer's market? And you said it's state by state. You said it's regional. So who would determine that?
It depends upon the months of inventory. So because we have a lot of inventory, it's considered a buyer's market. And if there's very little inventory, then it's considered a seller's market.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, Jessica, I hope we answered your question. He says, okay, that's a steal. How long do you anticipate this to last for? I guess he's referring to housing prices. Yeah, he's referring to the housing prices.
So
How long do you anticipate?
it's a unique situation right now. There's less sales, but the price of the houses have either rose up or they've stayed the same. So that's because there's less buyers and there's less sellers. So it's kind of equalizing. But there's millions unemployed, 40 million unemployed, 3 million people are in forbearance right now, which is pretty much saying they're unable to pay their mortgage right now. There's always a delay in the market with real estate. So it may not be like that now, but come the fall, there could be deals available. So if you're liquid and you're ready to buy, you can start planning now.
Okay.
Yes,
She just says
where you moving to?
sounds. And then Donald, he just says that's what he was saying earlier. I guess we were asking him to clarify. So he must have been somebody else was saying the same thing. He says VA loans 0 down, a minimum score of 620.
Yeah. Yes, it's pretty much just like that. So if you have a VA benefit, I highly recommend using it. It even lets you do a refinance after you purchase your home. If the rates go down again, it's almost like a one piece of paper sign, and you can refinance without having to essentially kind of like write your life away with all the documents. So I highly recommend it, but some sellers don't like to use it because it can be a little difficult with closing on it. It just takes a little longer. So it's something to think about, but definitely use it.
There was an article that, let me see, Brooke is joining in. He says hello. Hey Brooke, what's up? There's an article that came out and it said that this pandemic could be the millennials' best chance to buy a house. You want to give your opinion on that, on why it's a good time for millennials to buy a new house?
Yes. Statistically, they're saying they will be about 50% of the buyer market coming 2020, 2021, because they're finally coming of age. So they're hitting their 30s. They're getting married. They're having children. So they're thinking about, what's next. They can't live in an apartment, teeny tiny apartment in the middle of downtown forever. When you start having children, you start thinking about schools and yards and raising them and stuff like that. So they're frugal though, but they're also savers. So they're ready and they're prepared. They're saving money and they do their due diligence. So they're digital babies. So they're online constantly. So if you don't have, your game on point, they will question you because they know they've done all the research.
Yeah. So, what would you recommend? I probably know the answer to this, but buying a home versus renting an apartment, because in the long run, it may seem like, buying a home is a great investment, but in the short term, getting an apartment may seem cheaper because when you think of the home and, is your DTE bill is going to be more, your, consumers power, all that stuff is going to be more. You have to think about, all the maintenance on the home and stuff. But, you always hear people say, buy a home, it's an investment. But, how do you advise people to choose what direction that they should go?
So
in terms of buying a home or apartment.
The what?
I said in terms of buying a home or at least renting an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Or also renting a home. People rent homes too. I forgot about that.
Okay. So rentals are actually down in Houston. So it's either people don't want to leave and they're just staying and they're, not finding new places, or they left the market to buy their own home because the rates are so low. So it depends upon your situation. When I was younger, I wanted an apartment. I wanted to be downtown. I wanted to be in the thick of it. I wanted to have fun. I wasn't concerned about saving and, getting equity in my home. So it depends upon your age and where you are in life. I of course, I'm a realtor. I recommend buying. So In our area, it's so cheap and affordable. And even if you start with a starter home and you're in a few years, you're like, well, it's too small. I need something better. And, I want to move somewhere else. You can lease it. You can rent it out. So you can have someone else paying off your mortgage and then building equity in your home.
Okay. I want to piggyback off what you said about equity, because I've heard people say, the key to get rich is to buy a home, make an investment. Like they normally say either stocks or buying homes. So you want to explain that a little bit, like how is buying homes, going to help you become wealthy, investing in homes?
So one home won't make you wealthy. Two homes won't make you wealthy. It'll probably take a portfolio of homes to kind of reach that point, but it's typically stable. So right now it's a little rocky historically. Homes have appreciated in value. So, it's one of those things where the stock market, you never know where it's going to go. So you can either make a whole lot of money really quick or you can lose a whole lot of money really quick. So it's all about your risk. So if you're ready to risk that money, then do it. But you need to know what you're doing in stocks, in the stock market. So I don't know a ton about it, but I know you can lose a lot of money, but also make a lot. So you have to do your research.
Okay. What about, flipping homes? A lot of people, do that as, like a quick hustle. What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't done it, but I have worked with investors who have done it. So there's pitfalls, if you don't have the right contractors. So you need to do your research and know who you're working with. But I also have friends that do it and they make a great amount of money because you control how you work, when you work, how much money you make. So if you take forever to flip the house, then you're not going to make a lot of money, right? So
right.
So if you have the cash, definitely do it, because especially coming up, they're saying there might be up to 2 million foreclosures in homes. So if you have that,
Talk about that.
Yeah, well, they're saying these are the estimated numbers based upon if this drags out even longer, there could be up to 2 million people foreclosing on their homes.
Is it because people are losing their jobs and they don't have the money to pay their mortgage? Is that what's going on?
Exactly. People are losing their jobs, they can't work, and they're saying a lot of the jobs lost won't even come back. So then people are
right.
Yeah, they're gonna have to pivot and then find something else to do. That's what happened to me. I was in oil and gas for years. I was in the corporate world for 15 years, and in Houston, oil and gas never came back. So in 15, I got laid off, so I had to pivot and do something else. So, and I never went back.
Wow. Let's see. I got some more questions over here. Is it a difference pricing and credit score between buying a home or having one built? Oh, that's a good question. Is it different in pricing and credit score between buying a home or having one built?
So credit score, it doesn't matter. So if you have a good credit score, you can buy a house or have one built. So it just depends upon what you prefer. New homes, you kind of touched on this a little earlier. What if, how much money do you need to, fix up the house? What if the roof or the AC bust or something like that happens? If you are concerned about that, buy brand new. Because typically it'll take about 10 years before everything starts breaking down in your home. So in that 10-year time span, you should have just a fund where you put money in every year. So if the AC goes out at year 10, you're like, well, I have the cash for it. So that's what a lot of people don't do. They don't put that money aside thinking, oh, my house is going to last forever. I don't have to worry about that. But you do.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Let's see. Donald says, first thing to look, the property taxes. I'm in New Jersey. Property taxes on each thousands. Have to that in. People neglect that on getting approval. Would you agree with that?
Yes. If you're not, so in our area, it's about 2% on the total value of the home. So, so on a $200,000 house, it's $4,000. So that's something that you need to think about. But in different counties, it changes. So I'm sure it's the same, in New Jersey as well. So, on a $200,000 home, 5% is what, 10 grand? That's a lot of taxes. That's very high. So you definitely need to be aware of that, because if you don't escrow, that is tacked into your mortgage every month.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit about the home buying process. So from the start of, I need to buy a house, I'm getting married and we want to buy a house. We both were in separate apartments and want to buy a house. Here we are contacting Lisa Whatley. So what do we need to do next? What's the whole process? Explain that a little bit for us.
Okay, so have a budget in mind. So just easy math. If you make $50,000 a year, you multiply it times 3. So typically, depending upon, I don't know, cars, various things, but easy math is 50,000 times 3, so you can afford a $150,000 home. So
why do you multiply it by times 3?
It's just it's like a third of your income. So they kind of break it down. A third of your income to your house, a third to your cars, very expensive expenses and stuff like that. So it's just It's kind of like putting stuff in little boxes, so it makes it easier for you to figure out, how much you can afford. So know what you can afford.
Okay.
And then think about, if you're a 2-person income, do you want to buy a house where you can only afford on a 2-person income or not? So that's the risk. What if someone gets laid off, or you decide to have babies and, one of you doesn't want to work anymore? So that's another thing to think about. I don't recommend needing 2 incomes to buy a home. Base it upon one. So you don't have to worry. The untold stress of buying a home you can't afford is not worth it. Not worth it at all. So look at lending, talk to lenders. But of course, a big thing, connect with a realtor that you trust, because they'll be able to guide you through all of this and they'll break it all down for you. And the big thing is getting with a lender and a realtor. A lender will let you know what you can afford, and a realtor will help guide you through the whole transaction process. So there's so many questions that buyers have. If you work with a lender right off the bat, they'll be able to guide you. So it makes the process a whole lot easier, because even on listings, it shows all this stuff in the background. So they're able to research to make sure, like in our area, there's a lot of flooding. So you don't want to look at a home if you're concerned about flooding. And then even with flooding, the insurance is higher. So there's just so many factors. Just connect with a realtor, talk to a lender, and then be ready. It usually takes 60 to 90 days to go through the whole process.
Okay. So what makes you different from, any other realtor? Do you offer a special service to, the clients you work with, or tell us about what you do that's a little bit different, that sets you apart from everyone else?
Gosh, this is easy, huh? How am I different? Geez, I'm on the spot now. I care a lot. So I love numbers and data. So literally, if you throw something at me, and I'm a really good problem solver. So if something comes up, I will figure it out. And in real estate, that happens literally every time. Something will happen and I will figure it out to make sure that my client gets to the closing table. So they don't realize all the work that is involved. And on average, I've probably saved my clients about $10,000. So when you're working with the right person, that commission and that time is totally worth it.
What about people like me who are picky and want to see like 4, 5, 6 different homes? Does it ever come a time where you have to draw boundaries? Like, okay, I'm not going to be showing you 50 homes if you're not really serious. Like, what do you do if you have a client like that?
Well, how I know you're serious, you have a pre-approval in hand. So if you have that pre-approval in hand, I will show you as many homes as you want to a certain limit. And then you have to you're like, okay, this isn't like window shopping. We can't go burn up gas every weekend because you want to go look at houses, But I'm always more than happy to show people homes because they get excited and everybody likes to look. And then sometimes you can go to open houses on your own. So that's another thing. If you're just like, well, I want to just go look at houses, well, then I'll send you a list of open houses for the weekend, and then you can just leisurely just go and look on your own. But with the caveat, make sure you know when you go, you let the realtor that's on hand, let them know I'm represented, because otherwise they're going to bug you. They're going to follow you over the place and try to get you to be a client. So that's one of the tricks to get a client in real estate.
Oh, okay. All right. Finally, I want to ask you your thoughts on this lockdown. Is your state currently on lockdown, or have you been freed? Like, we just got the word that we're going to continue our lockdown to June 12th. You know, I'm in Michigan. So tell us what it's like in your state, and, you know, what's your opinion of the lockdown?
So ours has been very flexible. We're in Texas. So Texas is very flexible. It hasn't been too bad here. So actually, when all the lockdowns started happening, we were in Portugal and everyone was kind of freaking out. So we're like, okay, we're going to calm down. We're not going to freak out. We're going to continue our trip. But when we came home, we had to go through all this stuff, signing papers, you know, the whole temperature check. I know. It was crazy. It was really weird. It's almost surreal because you just heard the keep your social distance, you know, on the loop when you're in the airport and walking around. It's very strange. It felt like we were in a movie. So, but when we got home, we had to quarantine for 2 weeks. So we didn't leave the house. We stayed at home. But Texas has been very lenient. So you can go to the grocery store, you know, you can go walk around. And we've gone through phases now to where now the restaurants are open. The gyms are open. So they're going through, you know, various steps to slowly and safely open everything up. My opinion on it, it was necessary to you know, slow the curve or whatever they call. But it reaches the point where it becomes too excessive. And then what they're trying to prevent is actually the opposite. So people are, you know, committing suicide. They're losing their jobs. People are getting abused. So there reaches a point to where what was helping is now not helping.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely challenging times for us all. We got some more comments over here, so I'm just going to get to these people. Let's see. Donald says, if I send you a referral, do I get a referral fee?
If you're a realtor, a licensed realtor, I will send you a referral fee or $100. I think I'm limited to 50.
Mark says, you can tell when someone is serious. There's a difference between picky and not serious. Yeah, that's true. I would agree.
Yeah, you gotta coach your client.
First-time buyer programs. Oh, yeah, that's good. Talk about that. First-time buyer programs usually require a down payment based on credit or income. That's the question. So
really, the only first-time buyer program that I can really think of is FHA, if that's what he's kind of referring to. There are supplemental programs by state and by county and by city to where they can help you with down payment assistance and stuff like that. Typically, it's the 600 range for credit for FHA. And then income, you just need to make sure your income is in a certain area in order to buy. You know, so if you make $30,000 a year and want a $300,000 house, you're not going to get approved.
All right. And Thomas says, good rule of thumbs, great info. Thank you. We appreciate that feedback. He says, thanks, ladies. Valuable information for me. Awesome. So give us all some final tips to prepare to buy a house throughout this pandemic.
Think about your credit. If there's something wrong with your credit, there's ways to get it off. You can write letters, raise that credit, or if you need a credit repair, talk to a credit person. So this takes months or maybe even a year to fix. So if you have the time, fix your credit now. So come the fall, you know, you'll be able to buy. So everyone kind of wants to do stuff last minute, but if you prepare properly, it'll be more relaxed. Doing stuff last minute is the worst thing you can do because the lenders, something always messes up. And then come closing time, you got a delay. And that's hard on everyone because everybody makes their plans. They're excited. They're ready to move in. You know, the seller's already bought their next house. So just preparation and planning is key. And it's actually a quite easy process to buy a home or sell.
Nice. So give everyone your contact information for those are watching the replay and they didn't get a chance to ask any questions. You can still ask your questions. We'll just circle back and answer. But yeah, social media, if you have website, all your information so they can reach out to you for questions or to help with looking for a home.
For sure. So my website is hphighperformancehomegroup.com. I think I put it in the chat. I don't know if I did that wrong. I haven't used this before. My Instagram is really easy. High Performance Realtor, all together. And then if you want to reach out to me, DM me. I'm probably tagged on here somewhere. Send me a DM on Facebook if you need help or have questions. I'm always available to help. I love helping everyone. I get tons of DMs. So whether I'm making money or not, it doesn't matter. I'm here to help because I know the process can be very, very, very confusing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You've been a wealth of information. Appreciate your time on a Friday night. Yeah, so if you guys have any more questions, make sure you hit up Lisa Whatley. She's awesome. She's phenomenal at what she does. As you can see, she's compassionate. So please hit her up. All right. And thank you, Lisa. You have a good evening. I'll talk with you later.
So much, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You're welcome. All right.